Hey, what's going on here? Power Standard 1 review for Module 2, Topic 1, Linear Functions. So let's actually dive right into the problem, as I feel like linear functions are pretty fresh in our heads. So number 1, Round Lake is hit by a very large snowstorm. Andrea is recording the amount of snow in her backyard. Now if we look at the table over here, we can see that after 1 hour there was 6 inches of snow. That's pretty heavy. After an hour and a half, there were 9 inches of snow, and after 2 full hours, there were 12 inches of snow. So the problem says determine the average rate of change for the problem situation and interpret the slope in the context of the problem. So average rate of change, this is really just slope. So rate of change and slope are synonymous with each other. So given a table, how can we find the rate of change? Well, that's where this common difference, this first difference tool comes in handy. We can just subtract the values and figure out what the slope is or what the rate of change is by doing so. So remember, when subtracting in the table, subtract bottom to top. So this first one is, what is 1.5 or 1.5 minus 1? That is a difference of 0.5. Or in other words, we're increasing by 0.5. Now over here it's a little more obvious. 9 minus 6 is 3, or we can say we're increasing by 3. So the slope is always rise over run, or the change in y over the change in x. So my slope in this case, y over x, rise over run, is 3 over 0.5. Which I don't really like this number. Nothing against 0.5 there, but 0.5 just doesn't look right when we're in fraction form. So we actually want to reduce this. You can actually use your calculator to reduce this, or just recognize if I multiply the top by 2 and the bottom by 2, it'll make it a nice whole number. So 3 over 0.5 actually reduces to 6 over 1. So here is our slope. Now, what does this mean? It says interpret the slope in the context of the problem. Well, remember, this 1 is talking about the x values. So the x values in this case are hours. So for every 1 hour, now this is a slope, so we're talking about increasing or decreasing. The y value, which in this case is the amount of snow in inches, increases by 6. So for every 1 hour, the amount of snow increases by 6 inches. All right, pretty straightforward for that one. Just remember, slope is change in y over change in x. All right, let's go to number 2. Number 2, let me change up to be red here. So Eugene joined a gym that has a $30 joining fee, or an initial fee. And then each month after that, they charge $40. The function f of t equals 40 times t plus 30 describes the amount he's paying as a function of time, t in months. Interpret the slope and y-intercept in the context of the problem. So again, back to interpreting. This is just straight up, what do these numbers mean? What does this 40 mean? What does this 30 mean? Well, interpret the slope. Which of these values is the slope? I hope we can recognize by now that when we're dealing with linear functions, the number that is with the variable will be your slope. So in this case, the 40 is with the variable. Really, it's a 40 over 1. I always like to think of slope as a fraction. So what does this 40 over 1 mean? Well, if I go back to the problem, each month they charge $40. Well, I can just rewrite that, rephrase that. For every 1 month, the gym charges $40. Pretty straightforward. So that takes care of the slope. Now let's do the y-intercept, which in this case is 30. Now recall that the y-intercept is actually a coordinate. It's this coordinate 0, 30. So what does this mean? Well, 0 in this case is our input, or our t, or months. So in 0 months, Eugene would still have to pay $30. Or at month 0, Eugene has to pay $30. Well, that doesn't really make sense. So what does that mean with this problem? Well, it's that $30 joining fee. So we can say that Eugene must pay $30 initially. All right. That takes care of the 2 problems. Go ahead and try the next 2. If you have any questions, ask your teachers. They're always glad to help. Thanks for watching.